Hi, I'm Justin with Land Pride Service. Today we're going to be going over some springtime maintenance. We have 4 units we're going to be going over. One's a chain drive tiller, one's a gear drive tiller, we have an FDR grooming mower, and we also have a RCR cutter. First we're going to be going over our chain drive tiller. This is our chain drive tiller. The pan has 2 plugs in it. The top one is for filling. Your bottom one is you pull out to check the level. This takes EP double aught flowable grease. When you take the bottom plug out, you want to make sure you're level when you're checking it. You should have to the bottom of the plug. Now we're going to move on to the gearbox. The gearbox has 3 plugs on the back side of it. Your top plug is a vent plug. It's also the one used for filling. Your middle plug is what you take out to check the oil level. And the gearbox takes 80-90 weight. You want to make sure the oil is to the bottom of the plug, of the hole. Bottom plug you remove when you want to drain the oil. Now we're going to move on to the non-drive side bearing. On the non-drive end of the tiller, there's a bearing with a greaser. There's a cast bearing on the end of the rotor here. You want to grease it here. Also check for play in the rotor. Like I said, there's a bearing here and one on the drive side. Now we're going to move on to our gear drive tiller. This is our gear drive tiller. All your maintenance points are going to be the same on this as it was on the chain drive tiller. The only difference being that your pan will take 80-90 weight oil. Your top plug is a vent plug as well as your fill plug. There's a sight glass here. You want to make sure your oil level's up to that. And also, you want to take a look at your tines. Make sure they're not excessive wear. If there is, it's time to change them. Now we'll move on to our drive line maintenance. This is our tiller drive line. You're going to have grease point on this cross, grease point on this cross. You have a grease point here as well as here. And you want to slide your shafts apart. Underneath there's actually a metal profile tube. You want to make sure there's grease inside of there. Your slip clutch, you want to make sure that's operating properly. There's a video on the Land Pride YouTube service channel on how to properly slip it. Now we move on to our FDR. This is our FDR grooming mower. You'll have a grease point here for your shaft of your yoke. There's 2 wearable bushings, top and bottom. Also there's a greaser here for the tire. You want to check and make sure your tire doesn't have excessive play and your yoke doesn't have excessive play. Now we're going to move on to the gearbox. Now we're going to check the oil level in the gearbox. To do that, you remove this plug on top of the gearbox. It's a vented dipstick. You take that out, wipe it off, put the plug back in, screw it down till it's finger tight, and then you'll remove it again. And your oil level should be in between the 2 lines. The top line's the full line, the bottom line's the add line. Put your plug back in. There's also a plug on the side of the gearbox that you can remove, and your oil level should be to the bottom of where the plug is. And this takes 80-90 weight gear oil as well. Now we're going to move on to the spindles. There are 3 spindles on the deck on the mower. Each have a greaser in the top of the spindle to grease. We have the cover removed off of this. The covers have a plug to access to grease them. While you have the cover off, it's a good time to check your belt tension. Now we're going to move on to the PTO. This drive line is going to be the same grease locations as the Tiller drive line was. It's a good idea to grease both inside of the yokes, your two crosses, or U-joints as they're called as well, and your driveline shielding as well. And also, this slides apart and you want to grease your metal profile tubes as we showed you earlier. A good idea to check the blades as well for wear. If they're wore down past where they can be sharpened, it's a good idea to replace them. Now we're going to move on to our cutter. This is our rotary cutter. Your tail wheel has a greaser. You want to keep that packed full so you don't get unnecessary wear. These do not have wearable bushings in them. Our tire has a greaser. You want to make sure your wheel yoke doesn't have excessive play. Also, it's a good idea to check your blades, make sure they're not wore down excessively or rounded off. The gearbox is identical to how we checked on the FDR. Your PTO grease points are going to be identical to what we've shown you earlier as well. If you have a slip clutch on the driveline, you can refer to the Land Pride YouTube service channel. We have a video on the slip clutches. This has been our run through of basic spring maintenance on our tillers, our FDRs, and our rotary cutters.